My mental health journey started at a very young age. I would say around 5 or 6, I started to experience some symptoms that are common for anxiety and depression. Some of those included stomach pains, feelings of nervousness, sleeplessness, or sleeping way too much. I also used to twirl my hair into knots, and now looking back, I can see that those were my very early ways of coping with feelings of discomfort in my body that I think were caused by anxiety and depression. My household was pretty chaotic when I was younger. My parents split up when I was really young, and that just caused a lot of turmoil in my house. So a lot of fighting and just watching my family members that I loved and cared about be in a lot of distress on a very regular basis. I think just kind of witnessing all of that, I unconsciously internalized those feelings of turmoil and chaos, and it became really hard for me to regulate my emotions, and I just found myself kind of spiraling deeper into anxiety and depression as I got into my early teens. I felt a lot of really heavy expectations at home, and then also I was a competitive gymnast, which is a pretty rigid environment. And so I was continuously feeling like I wasn't enough and feeling like I was never living up to the expectations that were kind of placed on me by my family and other people in my life. As my symptoms persisted when I got older, they really started to affect me more. I became more aware of my feelings of discomfort in my body, just not feeling safe a lot of the time, and I found some really destructive coping mechanisms to kind of aid that feeling of discomfort in my body. And so one of the first things that I gravitated towards was using substances. I found that I could take this magic substance that would all of a sudden make me feel better, or really not feel much. I really liked that feeling of being numb, and substances really did that for me. It was really hard for me to realize that my problems actually mattered, and that when people go through certain things, they affect you, and it's nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to pretend that it's not there. It's just something that needs to be recognized as real. My journey has absolutely not been linear with my mental health. I've had very many peaks and valleys, and so there are certain times where I was still kind of living with anxiety and depression, but I didn't feel like I needed as much support. Early on, I mentioned that I was a competitive gymnast for a lot of years. And while that was kind of a stressful situation for me in some ways, it was more positive, I think. It was a good outlet for me to be able to express things that I was feeling without having to talk about them. I'm also a really competitive person, and so it gave me the opportunity to find that outlet for my competitive nature. So I did that for a lot of years, and I feel like it kind of kept me in line. As the substance use got a little bit worse, I think that's one of the main things that separated me from doing gymnastics, and so I ended up quitting and kind of did away with that part of my life, which that was heartbreaking. So after quitting gymnastics, let's see, I had some trouble in school. I had some behavioral problems. I ended up getting kicked out of the high school that I was attending because of attendance and just being my wild and crazy defiant self. And so I got sent to an alternative school, which is kind of like the school for bad kids. I don't know if you've heard of them, but it was actually a really awesome experience for me, which was surprising. I didn't expect for it to be so positive, but I finally was in a situation where I had mentors and adults in my life who really cared about me, and they took an interest in who I was. I had one teacher in particular, whose name was Mr. Solanke, and I still talk to him to this day. I consider him one of my lifelong teachers and mentors, but he really helped in that validating my experience with my mental health by just seeing me for who I was and not placing those same expectations on me that I felt so many other people did. And he really gave me the freedom to be myself, and I could tell that he believed in me. I could tell that he thought I had potential to do something awesome. I think a big point for me with finding support for my mental health has been in my peers, and I'm not talking about people that come to you and tell you what they think you need to be doing and kind of shoving these solutions in your face, like go to therapy, see a psychiatrist, get on medication. None of that resonated with me. And I also have had kind of a lifelong belief that therapy is for the weak. I think a lot of people believe that, and I am proof that that is not true. I really needed therapy, and I'm glad I got it, but I had a friend who told me about her experience. She had been in a similar spot that I was in at that time, and she talked about how much therapy helped her, and just her saying that and saying it as her own experience rather than telling me what she thought I should do, that was enough to open me to the possibility that maybe I really did need help to kind of find some light in this dark situation that I had found myself in over the years.